Hey everybody, this is Stick. This is going to be part 2 to my sleeping pad video. In my other video I just kind of briefly told some of the differences, or I hope I was able to explain some of the differences between an open sail pad and a closed sail pad. So in this video I just kind of want to go over some of the sleeping pads that I have. I have a couple of each, and I just want to point out some of my thoughts about each pad and maybe kind of give you some specifications. Just kind of give you something to think about, and you can kind of see each pad and maybe just take it from there and you can make your own judgment. So what I want to do is I want to start off with, of course, the first pad that I bought, which was this here. This is a closed sail foam pad. It's 24 inches wide, 72 inches long, and 18 ounces. It's just a thin pad. It's about 3/8 of an inch to a 1/2 inch thick, just depending on certain places. It's kind of an egg crate design, which is why the variation and the thickness, there's a variation in thickness. But what I found out with this pad is that it's plenty big, it's plenty wide. I didn't use it during the cold months, so I can't say much for how it did in cold weather. But I can say that it filled a void definitely for me when I laid on it, but I still noticed that I felt the ground through it. It padded the ground, but I could still feel the ground through it. So if it's a rough, hard, rocky ground, this pad doesn't really work out too well for me. Now if it's a ground maybe that's soft, maybe from snow or even from a good padded grassy area, this pad will be a lot more comfortable than the other one, or than on rocky soils and stuff. But what I found out is that I would really like to have something that's a little bit more comfortable. Also, I would like to have something that's a little smaller. You see how big this thing is, and it doesn't get any smaller than this. So when I pack this thing on my backpack, I have to take into consideration, even though this is outside my backpack, I have to take in this amount of space for whenever I decide to take my backpack for things such as rain covers or whatever. So that's the closed sail foam pad. This is part of another, a remnant of another closed sail foam pad I bought from Walmart. This was about $7. I can't tell you all the exact measurements and stuff because I've cut it up. But that's a good thing about some of these blue closed sail foam pads. You don't mind destroying them if you have to, because you didn't really blow a whole lot of money on them. This is just a little sit pad I carry with me. It's just some closed sail foam. Just something to have. Now there's another type of closed sail foam pad here that I've got, and it's a Thermarest Z-Lite. My son uses this sleeping pad. It's a size small. It's 20 inches wide and it's 47 inches long. Neat thing about this pad is it folds up. It's got perforations where it folds, so it always folds the same way. This pad is only 10 ounces, which is really good because my son he's still a little guy. He's 8 years old and weighs about 60 pounds, so he needs something that's lightweight. While this is, it kind of takes up a lot of space on the outside of his pack, he doesn't really carry a whole lot of stuff inside his pack, so his pack kind of compresses down, and this still fits on it plenty well enough, and he really does love this pad. I'll have to say that laying on this pad just around the house and stuff, this pad is a little more comfortable than the blue closed sail foam pad I just showed you, and I would say it probably had something to do with the egg crate design on it. It just seems like it just lays a little bit more comfortable than the other pad does. So these are two different versions of closed sail foam pads. There are a couple of other different versions. I don't have any with me, but you can kind of get the idea. If it's foam, it's closed sail foam. Yeah, that might be right. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. After I bought this big old blue closed sail foam pad, I realized that I wanted something a little softer, but I still didn't know about spending a whole lot of money on it. So what I did is I looked around on some forums, backpacker.com forum, and I found somebody selling this pad here. It's a Thermarest Prolite 4. He was selling it used, of course, and he was selling it for about half off the retail. I paid about $50 for this thing, and they retail for about $95. Now this is a regular size Prolite. It's 20 inches wide, 72 inches long, and it's a self-inflating pad. It's 1.5 inches thick, and what it is inside this pad, there's the full size of this pad, there's a piece of foam inside there. That foam is able to compress up really small so that you can roll it up really small, and then it's designed for whenever you open up the pad, it'll start to expand, and whenever it expands, it sucks air through that valve right there. This is a two-way valve. You put your air in and you take your air out of this valve. So whenever you lay this thing out on the floor, the foam expands on the inside and it starts to suck air in, making the pad almost able to use. Now what I found that I like to do with these pads is just when I come back to it, I like to put just a couple extra puffs into it just to kind of firm it up a little bit. That's I don't think that's really I think that's kind of contraindicated because they say the moisture from your breath may actually damage the foam inside. I can't say that it's done anything, but then again, I've only had it for a year, so that's something you'll have to decide on your own. But anyway, this is the Thermarest Prolite 4. I don't think this is offered anymore. I may have said that. But anyway, it's a good little pad. I really like it. It can seem kind of narrow at times, but that's just a sacrifice that you're going to have to make whenever you want a lightweight pad that's comfortable. This pad, one downfall, even if I was to buy this thing new, it doesn't come with a stuff sack, it doesn't come with any kind of a strap to secure it, and it doesn't come with a repair kit. So that's just kind of some downfalls. I think that it would be nice to be offered with the pad, and it's not. So after I bought this pad, I decided that maybe I should get another pad for my wife because I didn't want to be laying over there on this big thick pad and her laying on that little thin blue pad suffering. So I figured I would get another pad. So what I did is I joined up at REI, and when I joined, gave my email address, they gave me like a 15 or a 20% off coupon, I can't remember. So what I did is I bought this pad here. Now this is the REI Lightcore 1.5. Basically, essentially, this pad is the exact same pad as the pad I just showed you. There are a couple of differences that kind of distinguish each other from the others, such as that one says Thermarest and this one says REI. But actually, they're the same pads, in my opinion. They're both 20 inches wide, 72 inches long, both mummy cut, both self-inflating. They both have the same two-way valve. So, I mean, they're pretty much the same, but there are a few extra differences that REI includes on theirs that Thermarest doesn't, such as these silicone rings here. These will help your sleeping bag to kind of stay in place if you're kind of laying on a little hill or anything like that, or if you move around in your sleeping bag a lot. It'll kind of keep the sleeping bag in place on your sleeping pad. And then also, this pad, it came with a stuff sack. It came with a little pocket inside the stuff sack, which has a repair kit, and it even came with this Velcro strap. So, really nice thing about this pad is it came with all the stuff that you would need, and actually it was about $10 cheaper than the Thermarest. So that was something that's really interesting, I thought, and it was kind of, it was a real good deal in my opinion. And like I say, they're both the same pads. They both sleep, when I lay on them, they both feel the same. So that's just something you can kind of take into consideration and think about. So after I got these two pads here, I was looking around on the internet. Didn't really need another pad, but I came across one that seemed like it was a good deal. Oh, and what I didn't mention about these pads is both of them are right at around 25 ounces. So, like I said, they're essentially the same pads. Moving on. Like I said, I was on the internet and I found a good deal, what I thought, and that's the Exped Cinmat 7. Now, I'd always read about these, but they were way too much money that I wanted to spend. These retail for about $119 on REI, and I found it for $39, so I figured I'd better get it. It seemed like a good deal. There's a couple of differences in this pad. First off, this pad is almost 3 inches thick. It's 2.8 inches thick, which is double the REI or the Thermarest pad I just showed you, almost. It's also rectangular cut, which surprisingly enough, it makes it feel like there's loads more room that's offered. Also, with this pad, it's baffled. They have a synthetic fiber inside rather than a foam thing. But with this pad, you do have to put a little effort into inflating it. There's two different ways you can do that. First off, there's these valves here. These are two-way valves as well. You can open one up, you can blow the air in, or when you get done, you can open them up to let the air out, or you can use the pump that came with it. This is just a chamber with a piece of foam in it, and there's an inner valve in it. You push down on this foam, and as you push on the foam, air goes into the rest of the pad, and it'll give you about a minute and a half, and you'll have this thing inflated. This is a really nice pad, and I would really recommend it for anybody. This one was, it's good down to about 1 degree Fahrenheit. It's got an R value of 4.9, and it even came with a stuff sack as well as a repair kit. So those are some of the sleeping pads I have. If you have any questions, you can read more about them on my site, or you can post a comment at the bottom of the page. I appreciate you for watching. I hope it helped you out some. Thank you.